Sean Lynn in the pub for a Dram with friends, where we talk about faith, family, food, and fun. Pull up a chair and I'll pour you a drink. Episode 63. We are very happy to welcome John Wood, a past speaker at our God Squad conference, talking about his journey as an Army Ranger. I'm going to go, I have some Maker's Mark, and I actually have a bottle from Maker's Mark that I dipped myself in 2010. Remember when we visited you?
I do, yeah.
In South Carolina there?
I do, that was a good time.
You and your family, and so we went up to Kentucky on our way back and stopped at Maker's Mark, and I dipped my own bottle there. So I've got a bottle of Founder's.
Oh, amazing. I love it.
My last trip through, I got some Four Roses, so I'll try some of that. And you're having some Maker's 46, which I have not yet tried, but I look forward to doing that.
Yeah. It's pretty good. Can't complain. I also heard...
Welcome to the...
Oh, I heard you explain what a dram was. I definitely did not pour a dram. It was a little more generous, but...
It's extremely skillful to get that. I have yet to perfect the small pour of the dram. I, too, tend to get more than a dram in the glass.
A little extra splash.
But it's just, we don't want to promote over drinking, just a nice social drink amongst friends.
Sure.
Right? So for our friends in the pub, who is John Wood?
Well, I feel like I've been about three different people. The current version, I just left the U.S. Army. I was in the 75th Ranger Regiment. I'm now working in a sales position and selling into Fortune 500 companies. So huge pivot. Studied theology in college at a Southern Baptist school. Being Catholic, that was super interesting. Yeah. Had a graduated college and was very fed up with the people I was around. I felt that they were... The schools especially, it was kind of a inauthentic, kind of Pharisaical environment, and I was done with it, and I just wanted to get as far away as I could. So I left in May of 2013 after I graduated and went and worked on a fishing boat in Alaska. Spent a summer up there. Flew back from Alaska to Denver, Colorado, bought a motorcycle, rode that around for a few months, worked on some cattle ranches, worked on an Amazon warehouse shipping dock, loading trucks, moved back out to Wyoming, worked in the oil fields for a year, and then ended up joining the military. So, wow. Yeah, very kind of all over the place, but I just wanted the experiences. I wanted some challenges. I wanted to be outside doing interesting things. So,
well, isn't like fishing in Alaska one of the most dangerous jobs on earth?
It was an adventure getting there, Sean. It was. I didn't actually know the name of the boat. I knew the village, and I thought I knew the name, but I had it wrong. So.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was interesting. I showed up and I asked guys, I was like, hey, you're looking for the Ocean Dream? And they're like, yeah, we've never heard of that boat. So ended up getting a ferry ride across the harbor because they told me don't walk in the tundra because you'll get eaten by a grizzly bear. So that was great, though. It was a Vietnam-era landing craft that had been converted into a tender. So learned how to use a crane, learned about refrigeration because... You know, the tenders, you go out to the fishing districts, you offload using brailers, so 1,000-pound bags of fish into the boat. And then it's like an 8-hour ride back to the cannery, so you offload all the salmon at the cannery, and then you kind of refit. But, I mean, canneries in Alaska are so dirty, like, we just slept on the boat the whole time. You just get to shower maybe once a week or once every 2 weeks, but I loved it. I went straight from kind of the straight edge, like... this is how you're going to operate. This is the church vocabulary that you're going to use. No one is allowed to make a mistake. To being with these guys, one guy was half Eskimo, half Scottish. The other guy was co-founder of a motorcycle club in Eagle River, Alaska. So very, very different characters. Yeah.
Yes, and you talked about working on the rigs, and I'm familiar with that. I did that for 6 years as a younger man, and made it up to driller, and before I got a safer job as a police officer.
Yeah, much safer, right?
That's right. So it's that's quite the adventure you've been on, and you rode your motorcycle all around, if I recall back looking at some of your pictures and following you on Facebook. There
was never allowed to have a motorcycle growing up, so obviously when I had the opportunity I got one. Rode from actually Colorado was amazing because it was a dual purpose, a KLR 650. And so I had spent the previous summer working on a cattle ranch in Salida, Colorado. And man, I was helping them out for their second cutting that summer. And I'd finish up, you get off the baler, you hop on the bike and then just go ride and national forest roads for a couple hours. And then when you get, to where you have to turn around for gas, you just turn around and come on back. So I loved it.
Yes, yeah, it is fun. I've been on the motorcycle. I got a real one when I was 50, but I had scooters for around town before then.
And you go on long rides, right? You guys have done some. I know you've hit me up for the long ride that you guys do.
Yes, we're trying to figure out where God's calling us to this year. The bishop's coming off of Vancouver Island, so we'll have to see when and where we pick him up and where we go. And it's always been an adventure. My longest day was I did 1,207 miles from Calgary to Sioux Falls, South Dakota.
Oh,
just
man.
To prove to Jeff that Canadians can go further than Americans. So.
Man, you're killing that. The furthest I ever rode in that dual sport was 600 miles, and I felt like I was vibrating after I got off.
Yeah, my bike's probably a little more comfortable than yours.
I hope so. 1,207 miles. That's incredible.
So we've had some great adventures. And tell me, and then you went into the Army, right? So you were a Ranger.
Yep.
And
so I joined the Army. There's something called an Option 40 contract. So you just go straight from basic training. At the time, you went then to airborne school, and then it's the Ranger Assessment and Selection Program. It's an 8-week course. If you pass, you go to one of your battalions. So I joined as an infantry guy. I enlisted and worked my way up from, various positions. You start off as a private. I had a college degree. I had some experience. I was treated exactly the same as an 18-year-old kid. My responsibilities were sweeping the floor and taking out the trash until I was deemed good enough to be able to handle the aid bag. And then you kind of graduate. You have to go to Ranger School, which is a separate from our Ranger selection. And worked up to team leader. Eventually went back, and I was an instructor at our selection program, which was a blast. It's tough to say a highlight, but that was just a really amazing life experience, getting to help develop these younger guys.
That's amazing. So now that you're out in the working world, I know for me it was tough when I was young on the police service, and you had these guys saying, wow, we're working too hard and we're not gonna, they came out of university, really hadn't had to work before, and they're complaining about their conditions.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've come across that where you're going, you have no idea what you're talking about.
Oh, anybody. I mean, I still have huge respect because military, you'll still get breaks. You'll get a 4-day weekend or something. Someone working in like the oil fields, An average oil field week is, 110 hours if you're on the fracking side, or more if you're on the drilling side. So yeah, it's hard to have sympathy for somebody if working a 40-hour week is too tough for you.
Yeah, but so you've gained all this manly pursuits, as it were, and has it helped you figure out who you are and where you're going, or?
Yeah, absolutely. I've thought about this a lot, actually, especially with my experience as an instructor at our selection course. I think I didn't realize what I was looking for at the time, but men are physical, especially young men are physical. You need physical challenges, you need visceral challenges, and you need somebody that you respect in the field that you're, applying yourself to tell you that you've done a good job. And so for our program, it was 8 weeks long. I got to see guys come in who I could tell were boys, in the sense of they didn't feel that they were men. They hadn't passed that rite of passage. So our one of our culminating exercises is it's a week at a place called Coal Range. And you go there, and it's very limited food, very limited sleep. You're moving, 70 plus miles in a few days. And it culminates with a long walk back to the barracks. So you start at 2 a.m., you get back to the barracks at 6 a.m., sometimes as late as 7:30 in the morning. And the guys that show up on day one versus those guys that finish that last walk back, they've walked from 2 a.m. to 7 a.m. And we say the Ranger Creed, which for Ranger Regiment, the Ranger Creed is like the Our Father, the Hail Mary. That is the prayer of regiment. That instills all of the values and beliefs down to like a single recitation, I guess. So yeah, I feel. I always said I would never ever work in an office. I would never do anything like I'm doing now, because I didn't have the perspective of doing these things, kind of discovering who I was, what I valued, what I wanted to be like, to then step into the role and be comfortable not, blowing stuff up or shooting stuff every day or doing the exciting things. I've kind of discovered I feel like I have a more satisfaction. I also met a girl. I got married last September, so that that kind of chilled me out and kind of gave me a fresh perspective. It's not like what's the new exciting thing I'm going to do. It's how am I going to provide for my new family, because that's kind of the next chapter. It's turning from, I think it kind of sucks, and maybe this is a bad perspective, but some guys, I tell them, I was like, be selfish when you're young, accumulate as many cool experiences, go away, do something, and then when you know that you're ready, then come back and then commit to like starting off a family or committing to some other cause that's not about yourself.
Well, you bring up a very interesting point that I've wrestled with, or I've noticed, and trying to is that rite of passage for manhood. Unfortunately, we live in a society where boys are encouraged to remain boys till their 30s and even their 40s, right? And just, I think our young men are struggling with that rite of passage into manhood and what that looks like, and how, as a church leader, can we supply something like that for our young men to help them?
How do you supply a rite of passage? Well, the issue with a rite of passage is it needs to be dangerous, or at least perceived by the guy going through it as dangerous. And if your goal is to keep young guys safe, you cannot have an effective rite of passage. So that's the negative answer that I would say.
Well, and it's interesting where if you look at other cultures where whether it's part of the hunt in the native cultures, or ice fishing up north with the Eskimo culture that you said, those things are like you say, dangerous. Not that the men would not be there to protect you, but you need to know that you're on your own to do it, right? So, because the Army doesn't set out to put them in extreme danger, but there has to be that risk factor that they have to overcome those fears and build that courage.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, there's no easy answer for it. I think it's better to adjust the mindset rather than coming up with a specific application.
Well, I've taken the Galaxy Quest approach: never give up, never surrender. So, as I tell, I was just on the street yesterday, and there was a young 33-year-old bad guy, and I just let him know that doesn't matter, he's going to lose. So don't even bother trying, because I don't get paid to lose. that mindset, right?
Sure.
That you have to go into situations where to win the day. So you have to have that mindset, and I use that for God Squad, because people go, "How do you do that? How are you on your 25th year? How did you get Steve Wood up here? Like, how do you do?" Well, ask.
Sure.
And don't be afraid of a no.
Well, that's actually, there's a guy that wrote a book on like the special operations community in the military, and he lists out several different principles. And the first principle is actually boldness. You just do it. Like, yeah, let's just try and see what happens.
Although I was working night shift, they put us back out on the street for a few weeks here this month, and I'm not rebounding quite as fast as I used to. So I'm hoping that I don't have to do too many more of those.
Yeah, hopefully not.
As a young husband, is there a dish that you prepare that brings a smile to the missus' face? Or
I had my, you'll appreciate this as a barbecue guy. I had my first attempt at a brisket not too long ago. Smoked it for a long time. It actually turned out really great. That might have brought a smile more to my face than her face. But we did both enjoy it.
Well, it's always going to bring a smile to our face. Yeah. So, and as you become a father and kids, one of the things that I think is important is creating those times. Like, I used to do sourdough pancakes for the kids. Now my grandkids, "Papa, make your crepes." So it's just
it's good. Build a tradition and something to look forward to. Yeah. I love it. It's awesome.
So you're not that far away from it, but far enough. As you know, many young men are struggling with what a man is in today's world. And what advice do you give your 18-year-old self?
I would say, honestly, I wouldn't change anything in my path. I'm very thankful. I've learned different things at every step. I would say, make a decision, whatever you do, and just go with it. Don't think about the consequence. Like, again, 18-year-olds are good about not thinking about consequences, probably, but if you're sitting at home and you're worried, like, what's going to happen if I move to this place, if I try this thing, if I take this job far away, or if I do this trade instead of going to college, just try it. For me, I felt like I was very freed when I sought out things that like I knew were full of pain and suffering. Because once you seek pain and suffering of like a hard challenge, everything else, like there is nothing that's going to throw you off. So if you're in college right now and you need something to do, like you can join a jiu-jitsu gym, you can run a marathon, you can get a job roofing, right? Stop talking to people the same age as you with zero life experience. Your job right now is to build life experience.
Amen. Amen. Yeah, and those are valid points, because whatever job you do, you're never just working with people your same age, or that's extremely rare. The world is full of people of all kinds of opinions, and you need to learn to grab the wisdom from where you can. And I'm sure you picked up a little bit everywhere along your stops, right? So.
Absolutely. And there's a quote from, I think it was a Mark Twain quote. He said, from the age of 16 to 26, he couldn't believe how much more intelligent his father became, something to that effect. And yeah, old guys are where it's at. That's my philosophy right now. It's align yourself with guys that are older than you, who are successful at what they're doing, who are leading lives that you want, somewhere where you want to end up. Do you want to be, an alcoholic that's living in a mobile home, or do you want to have a family and have a plan and seek a goal, something like that? Yeah, that's all I would say.
So, I know you're familiar with Jeff Cavins and the Activated Disciple, where he talks about riding with your posse, riding with your saints. Who's a go-to saint for you, or a couple of them that you?
Saint Christopher is a patron saint. Saint Joseph is actually my confirmation saint. So those would be the go-tos for me. But, Sean, I'll be honest with you. I went through a long period of this travel where I strayed away from the faith. It took this journey of going away to realize that I needed to come back. And so I feel like I'm still in this evolution of incorporating those elements into my life, of realizing the validity of it and the value of it intellectually, and trying to pair those with a emotional kind of real level. But for me, Saint Christopher, Saint Andrew, Saint Joseph are my three.
That's awesome, and that. Thank you for being honest, because I know lots of young men that are struggling. I even have my sons that are asking the hard questions, and because the world is full of the nuns, right? No religion, and just it's hard as a young person to walk that. And I honestly believe that if we keep searching for God, we will find him. And because he leaves us people, and he finds us, but as long as we keep searching, and we're trying some new outreach that I don't know if have you tried disc golf?
I've played a couple times.
There you go. Well, we've got some. We're getting some discs made up called named Terror of Demons, Mirror of Patience, and Support and Difficulty.
Do you play disc golf yourself?
I've taken it up the last few years. Actually, last time I saw your dad in person, we were on our way to Myrtle Beach, and I played some rounds there. And
what's stronger for you? You the forehand or the wrist flick?
Well, I'm not very good with the forehand. I got to work on that. So yeah, it's back end, and it's good. My game's getting better. I've played a few. I'll be playing in Waco next
Oh
weekend.
wow.
I'm going to try and get a round in there because I've got a board meeting with the Catholic Men's Leadership Alliance. So
Well, you'll
there's a course called the Beast.
get
there.
some disc golf, get some good barbecue. We were just in Waco over Christmas, actually, so good spot.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, I want to thank you. I don't know if you know that the term whiskey is a Gaelic term, Ishkabaha, which means water of life. And my prayer is that you continue to lead many souls to the true water of life. And I want to thank you for joining us in the pub today.
Thanks, Sean.
I hope you are enjoying this content. Please like and subscribe, share with a friend. Also, go to godsquad.ca where you can pray with us and for us, and consider donating so that we can continue our mission reaching men wherever they're at. Thank you.